So I'm based at the Center for Evaluation of Development Policy here at the IFS, which is a group working on understanding the effectiveness and design of development policies and programs. So we work in a range of countries ranging from Latin America to South Asia and look at a range of issues from early childhood development to microfinance and transfers to the poor. Understanding what policies and programs work in alleviating poverty is of great policy interest. Firstly, because there are limited resources, and we want to make sure that we get the best out of the available resources. And also we want to be able to design the best type of policy, make sure we're implementing the best policy. It is quite difficult to evaluate public programs because when we need to know two things. First, we need to know the outcome for an individual in the presence of the program, and also what would have happened in the absence of the program. However, we never ever observe both of those simultaneously, and that is the crux of the problem. Moreover, it's not enough to, for instance, compare the outcome of an individual before and after the policy is implemented, because there could be a range of other things going on, for instance, macroeconomic policy changes or unobserved, unanticipated shocks that could also affect the individual's outcome. We can't also just simply compare the outcomes of individuals who received a policy and who did not receive a policy, because those who took up the policy could be quite different from those who didn't take it up. For instance, if we want to evaluate a policy aiming to get the long-term unemployed back into work, this would not be suitable because those who take up the policy could be quite different in that they could be more motivated and hence very different from those who don't take it up. So randomized controlled trials offer one way of choosing comparable individuals that did not receive the policy. And they do so by so randomized control trial would assign the policy on a random basis to certain individuals or groups who we'll call the treated group. This terminology comes from the medical sciences. And the rest who don't get the policy are called the control group. So the random assignment ensures that the individuals that received the policy did not do so because of some inherent characteristic of theirs, but just on a totally random basis. And so at the end of this process, the group that received the policy, so the treated group, and the group that did not receive the policy should be similar on average. Given this, when we compare the outcomes, the average outcomes for those in the treated group and those in the control group, that should give us a valid answer to whether or not a policy works. Randomized control trials offer a really great way of getting an answer to whether or not a policy worked. However, they can't tell us why it worked, or if it didn't work, why it didn't work. So, moreover, it can only tell us whether or not a policy worked in the specific context in which it was implemented. So we can't say for sure whether such a policy would work in a different context. And finally, it's very difficult to use this to evaluate policies where you can't exclude certain individuals or groups from receiving it. So as an example, monetary policy, which affects the entire country, that would be very difficult and usually can't be randomized or evaluated in this way.